pen or pencil, some papers and stuff, and so we'll get through this real quick. We're gonna start off by showing you an old plane that I was working on that broke, and we're trying to bring it back to life. So let's bring that over here, and it is the famous, super famous bird. But anyway, what we've done here is I did want to use the motor from the other one, the Aero Scout Mini, but it was just way too heavy. So right now it looks like it might be heavy too, but it isn't really, because once I put the battery, you'll see that it sort of balances out. Will this fly? I don't know, probably not. Also because this should be pointing the other way. I do have it thrusting correctly, so technically it should work, but at the same time, this is designed to be pulling on the air rather than pushing, I think, on the air, so we'll see how that works. Anyway, right now what I can do is just turn it on to show you that it does balance out. I wasn't just lying to you. Look at that. It does balance like this perfectly well, as well as once you get the remote here, it will move forward. So we don't know if it will fly at this point, but it does have enough power and thrust to push this forward. So all the other control surfaces are working. And one of the other things that I noticed is when I had the other motor on, it was struggling with creating the power required to push the motor. Now this thing here has a very, very small motor, but how they've set it up, how they've made it work better, basically, is by using a gear that then spins a larger blade. And so therefore, this is a very intelligent system that they've used. So they're relying on a very small motor to use a gear to crank up one of these larger blades, and it seems to work very well. You see how much power was created through that. The reason why all this happened was because the original plane has a smaller blade that fits between here and here, but during landings you just end up crushing it over and over and over, unless you're a fantastic pilot, which I haven't got to the skill level yet for that, so I kept destroying it. What I could have done also is added an extra landing tire back here, extra bit of landing gear, but I didn't think of that early enough, so I destroyed it. It comes with 2 of these, and I destroyed both of them. So my other solution, of course, has been to try different motors. We even tried a motor on each of these to see how that would work, and most of those things failed for various reasons. Of course, you're using electronics that were not designed to have those features in there, and then we just brute forced our way in. So it doesn't always work with brute force, and so we will have other ways of getting this to work. Hopefully this one will actually fly. If not, we'll try something else. One of the best systems that did work was to have a tri-blade from a drone installed back here, and that worked amazingly well until we had issues with the ESC not being able to provide enough power to that one motor, and that prop always wanted to fall off for some reason. I don't know. I just probably did not do a very good job of connecting that battery up there, so it is what it is, right guys? So some of the other things that I'm thinking about doing is now that we have Steve on the force, we have Steve to help us out with a lot of these fun projects. I may be getting back to doing some 3D printing if he can help me out with that stuff. Before I was just too much pain, just the whole idea of building and doing things in 3D on the 3D software and all that, just the pain of just sitting down in front of a desk. It just, it was overwhelming. So I had to quit completely doing that, and I probably may never be able to go back to doing any of that kind of work, or maybe I could do it like in little short spans of maybe like 5-10 minutes at a time and then just get off the computer because it's just too painful. But anyway, let's talk about the good stuff. So one of the things that I was thinking of is I love this plane. Everybody loves this plane. It was featured recently in Top Gun once again, Top Gun 2. And so what I would like to do is, aside from fixing this plane here that you guys know about, that I already made, this was the Manta Ray. It is not fully fledged and completed here. It is missing the wings here. It is missing the vertical stabilizers, and it is missing the nose of the plane. But we'll talk about this in a minute. What I want to talk about this is one of the new projects that I plan to make. What if we could make something that looks as cool as this, as the F-14 Tomcat, but possibly make it VTOL. Now, it would have to go through a very different and long redesign, because this is kind of what I had planned in the very beginning, but I need to make it so that it is safe to fly and more kid-friendly and stuff like that. Part of the reason why this is the way that it is here is, one is to allow for more airflow to go through here, but also I do not want to build something with a very sharp edge in the front. Maybe we'll have a version that people who have access to an airfield and nobody around could fly if they wanted to, but for my preference is, unless I can make a really gummy point, I most likely will not have one like that. I may have to use those gummier kind of filaments to create something, but I'm definitely not going to have it as sharp as this. This could poke someone's eyes out. So anyway, let's go through some of the design stuff. And again, this is one of the cool things about this is, as you can see here, it was kind of following this principle right here. So what if we could make this into a VTOL that just goes up like this and then flies that way, but also keep the props of the plane out of cutting your face and cutting your body sort of deal. So what I'm planning is, let me see, this is how it started in the beginning. So you'll see the two different planes. You'll have this one, and this was the one for the Manta Ray. Then we went into, let me see if I can find that piece of paper. There's more of the little drawings that I made for it. Okay, so then I went from this to sort of this kind of design here a little bit more to show you guys how I am smoothing out so it's not sharp anymore, and also shortening this bit a little bit so that the wings have more ability to lift stuff. And then by this point here, we were getting close to more of a triangular design for the whole thing. Also because I plan to have this so that you could 3D print it, just as you can see here. This was 3D printed like that. You could have the whole thing 3D print in one piece, as you can see here. So I'm thinking of different ways of getting this done, and if not, because like I don't have a 3D printer that is that large, so even though it should be able to, like if you had a G-Max, like Joel Telling, 3D printing nerd, he has like a G-Max, so he could probably 3D print something like this all in one piece. But we're gonna have to go with cutting up in different places. But I still want to be able to print it like so rather than like so that you can get more details and stuff like that. And also, if you can 3D print everything in this fashion here, you can do what is called vase mode. Vase mode will allow you to make super thin plastic. So you see how this is super thick everywhere. Even this, part of the reasons why this thing will not fly is, look at this thickness here. You don't want this at all. What you want is, and I'll bring a piece of plastic that has been printed in vase mode. You see, this is a vase, but you could print this. You could print this if you design it properly, you can print a plane such as this with very thin plastic, as you can see here, like this. And the cool thing about this is also it has a bit of a bend, so if it was to fall, hopefully it would not completely destroy itself. But also, the electronics, you could use smaller electronics to lift something like that. So in a future video, what I'm going to do is show you guys some designs and stuff like that that may help. But here, this is the other bit that I was talking about. The importance of triangles in most things. Well, we should know that the triangle is pretty much the strongest structure that we have available, right? And so a lot of these planes and things are based off of that triangle. In some cases, things get smoothed out. So like if you were to have one fan here, one fan here, and one fan here, you see a lot of the VTOLs, or vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. Sometimes we'll have a dual motor system, or they will have a triple, or in some cases we're very familiar with DJI, so DJI will have a quad system. They will have a quad system where you'll have one motor here, one motor here, one motor here, there, and then lift that way. But each of those systems is going to be a little bit different when you're setting up the control surfaces for the being able to give it throttle and the turn left, left, right, up and down, all that stuff. So what I was thinking is maybe either do a dual system where you've got the front of the plane like that. And let's see. Okay, so let me just show you real quick on a different piece of paper, because otherwise there's too much stuff going on there and it will be hard to see what I'm talking about. So let's go here real quick. Okay, so let's pretend that this is your plane, right? So you got the plane, and in this case, we'll just pretend that it's the sharper version, just for the sake of just really quickly sketching in something that looks a bit like a hieroglyphic, because I'm doing it. So anyway, so let's see. We've got the plane, but we have to modify this slightly, because when you do have a plane like that, one of the issues is you have this right here, and then if it was like the actual structure of a Tomcat F-14, you'd have this bit here that goes like this. Wow, that really sucked. Okay, anyway, something like that. And then the wings would continue on off of here, which is not what I want. Well, not what I want. In order to balance this thing, if you were to make it a tricopter, we would want the wings to instead start about there and come down. Why? Because when the plane, let's say the wings are all the way out like this and open, you would want to have a motor here and a motor here. And then you would want to have a third motor about here, where you see you have these little wing tips here. You'd need the wing tip there like that, and the wing tip like that. So what you don't want is to have the wings coming out down here, right? And then even though it's open, let's say that the motors are somewhere like here and here, because this kind of angle that you see here from there to there, there to there, does not create very good stability. And you will notice that in a lot of quads, or in a lot of the DJI stuff, the motors will be further out. So you see that this angle here that you see from here, and I love the triangle systems, but you'll see that basically this angle here will create more stability. So one motor here, rather than this angle right there, you see? So anyway, we're talking about this angle right here. So if you have a wider angle here, and one motor is placed there and one motor is placed there, it would be better to have this and this rather than this and this. this could turn it into something that just flips that way. Anyhow, so that's one of the things that I'm thinking about, is possibly having that. And then, of course, having a servo like the Osprey. I don't know if you guys know about this. Part plane, part helicopter Osprey. Anyway, I've been fascinated with this bird for a long time. I don't know if it was Mattel or one of those other American brands did a really cool Osprey that you could buy back in the day that would fly like that. But again, we don't really have anything that looks jet-like. Like even the F-35s that you can buy these days, they don't lift off in VTOL and then they're all like, you have to take off from the ground the regular way. In this case, you know, like if you saw the Top Gun movie, Pete or Maverick, he basically opens up the wings so that he can get better lift or whatever, and then lifts off like this, and you know, like he does his gunny stuff, which is really awesome. Anyway, that was the little stuff that I wanted to tell you guys about today. And unfortunately, the other thing that I did yesterday, I went out to the field. I did a nice drone flight with the DJI Mini 2, and it was supposed to be live streaming, but it never showed up. So there you are. There we have it. It never showed up. And therefore, I don't know what's going on with that. The only times that I was able to do a live stream directly from the Mini 2 was at home using the Wi-Fi. So although I was using data in the field, it either didn't record or something else happened. I don't know. YouTube is not communicating with DJI. DJI is not communicating with, I don't know. There's always something, right? Anyway, so that was my end rant right there. But let's talk about the cool stuff that we have here. And so before I leave you guys, I'm just going to show you the Wall of Heroes again. The Wall of Heroes before I leave. Always nice to have it up there. There's always the extra bit over here with some of the latest and greatest. Let's not miss anything out. There we go. And so thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll see something fun out of this. I will try to make this thing here fly by printing it in vase mode and do a complete different redesign, because I would like to have more wing span for this thing so that it has more things, more surface areas to provide lift. And the whole thing is going to be light so that the electronics that I put on here will be able to lift the bird. The electronics that I had in the past were just not powerful enough to do the job. And possibly we may decide to make an F-14 VTOL. That would be amazing. I would love that. Yeah, so there we go. If you guys want to tune in to watch us create a F-14 VTOL, then be my guest. Anyway, until next time.